Hello and welcome to Season 4 of the Sunday Podcast, presented by sportsshoes.com. I'm Ollie Lum.
And I'm Matt Seddon.
This podcast is all about elite distance running in the UK,
We're here to give you all the latest news updates around the sport.
as well as weekly interviews with athletes and coaches.
Stay up to date by following us on Instagram and X at Sunday Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel too, where we post athlete workout videos, shoe reviews and more.
Thanks for listening, and as always, we hope you enjoy the episode.
Okay, welcome back, guys. Happy Sunday. Hope you're enjoying your long runs if you're getting out today, or if you're on it already. But look, mate, Olympics is done, so we're just back with a normal episode, mate.
Yeah, back with a normal episode. I mean, to be fair, you say Olympics is done. Olympic fever carrying over a little bit. We got our first Paris Olympian on the show today. So, looking forward to catching up with Sam Reardon and how his Paris experience was. And obviously that 4-8 kind of transition he's making and what he's going to focus on. And he's a very interesting athlete. Not many. We don't have anyone who is, world class over, hitting standards over 400 and very close to kind of standards over 800 as well. So stay around to listen to that and listen to all things the games and the village and all the drama there. So, but first, let's look ahead, man, because we've got a Diamond League around the corner.
Yeah, we have, mate, and we were actually just saying off air, weren't we, that sometimes we don't know how these athletes do it. The way they come back from, I guess for the ones who've had a massive high anyway, the way they're able to come back and be on a really competitive start line in a couple of weeks, I think is super impressive. Obviously, people might say, "Oh, look, it's their job and they're living a dream or whatever," but I think it must be pretty tough going, particularly someone like Cole Hocker, for example. I think we were saying. I think if you bum out in the heats, I think it's a great chance to kind of salvage something from your season. But yeah, if you win, it must be crazy hard to kind of pick yourself up and think, oh, let's try and win some of these races, you know.
Yeah, and then we reminded each other that he'll probably make the best part of, I don't know, what do you reckon his appearance fees are? 50,000 or something, maybe more every time he
A whole
turns
lot
up.
more than they were before. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be cashing in. He could make the best part 200,000, if not more, 250,000 over the last few months. So yeah, and we reminded ourselves as well, it's their job, isn't it? And I think he's going to take a break in September. He's just talking about carrying it on for 4 weeks, and I think the pressure's off. If you lose, you came out. Lum made a bold statement off air, and he said Cole Hooker won't win a race again this year.
I don't
But
think he
wait,
will, and that's not me kind of slating Hocker. Doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter.
no,
That's
and yeah, I
that's the
think it's
point.
still
Yeah.
must dampen. Even if you won the Olympic Games and you go to Friday night, he's going to match up against Jakob, and let's say Jakob does beat him. It does kind of dampen things a little bit, doesn't it? I think it always does, but you
For
disagree.
me, the only people I think it really dampens is your Keeleys. Say Jakob had won, if Jakob then loses afterwards. People who've won all season right and carried it through, maybe that dampens like an unbeaten season or like
Yeah, I guess we wouldn't be expecting him to win pre-Olympics. So
yeah.
now he's the Olympic champ, kind of a bit more pressure on him, but it's the same scenario. It's going to be the same setup, pace race, and but I think what will be interesting is how to see what these guys can do. Are we going to see like quite a flat kind of, yes, it'll be a pace race, but then kind of no one quite get after it, and maybe they run around in 329, 330, which this day and age we class it as a bit of a flat 1500. But or are we going to see them like, is Jakob just going to come out and just be like, right, I'm going for a PB, I'm going to run 326 low or something crazy, and the rest of the field kind of follow. So, and I think what's interesting is how all the others will fare as well. Those guys who were got like the Kenyans in there, Coleman, Chariot, both Chariots, Ollie Hoare, Kessler's in there. George Mills is in there. So, how are these guys going to do?
Yeah, be interesting
Men's
to see. Well,
1500.
I say it's
Good.
interesting to see. Like, it's not that interesting to see, you know. I think it's a chance for people to salvage something, like I said before, but I don't think anyone's making any headlines by how they perform in this next Diamond League. I think maybe once we get down to Diamond League final, we'll have kind of the interest might have peaked again a bit. For me anyway. I don't know.
Well, we know, there's going to be that big matchup as well between all four of them, right? Kern and
Mm,
Goose, Hocker and Jakob are going to be back at it. So, but Hocker and Jakob lining up in Lausanne. So, yeah, mate. I mean, the 50, 100, by the way, the fields are stellar. Like, yeah, I was looking at, 100 hurdles. That was just like, it's basically the Olympic final. Like, they're all lining up again in that Grant Holloway. I mean, the women's 800, by the way, the one I am very, very excited to see. I mean, the women's 800 is basically Olympic final as well, bar Keely. So, you've got Mary Moore in there. You haven't got Daguma, I guess, the Ethiopian, but you've got Renaud Lamothe. You've got um, Georgia Bell and Toigle. I'm very excited to see what Georgia Bell can do. 156.28. I think Georgia Bell might win this Diamond League, to be honest. I think,
yeah.
yeah,
I think that's the way to do it, is to go different distance.
different event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy. Someone like Bell can because she's really versatile. But yeah, what we saying? Yeah. But
Capitalize on your shape, run a different distance, knock some time off your PBs in those events.
I guess because there is no 800 for the men at this meet, there is a non-Diamond League
Yeah.
800, by the way, which is absolutely stacked as well for the men. But I guess like if you yeah, Jakob's never going to run an 800, is he? I guess Cole Hocker, he's the Olympic champ. He's going to take a payday in the 1500 versus an 800. But I do think
I
you're
bet
right.
Jakob could have asked for a 3K if he'd wanted one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah, you're right. So Riki and Georgia Bell in the 800. Yeah, really, I mean, 156.28 Bell's PB. Can she go quicker than that? Can she beat Mary Moore? Gemma Riki, by the way, is on paper by far and away the favorite going into that race. So see again, you mentioned people kind of going out in the rounds, not making the final. Be interested to see how kind of she bounces back.
yeah, and I
Um,
wonder if it would be paced, kind of obviously being the fastest. I wonder if it'd be paced for her to PB. But obviously if it is, that's pressure on her to kind of get on the pacemaker, you know.
well, this is it. Like whenever she is kind of the fastest in the field, she doesn't like to take the race by
Mm,
the scruff of the neck. And this is where like her and Keely are very different. Keely takes races by the scruff of the neck and she dictates them and controls them. And maybe that's easier because she is just so much better than the rest. But Riki's been in those situations before, and I think she's been able to like she's plenty good enough to kind of do that, but she's kind of hesitated and almost kind of waiting for other people to kind of dictate the pace. Um, so yeah, it is interesting. I wonder what the pace is because obviously Mary Moore is in there, and is she just going to try and like absolutely blast it? And it's not too much pressure on her. I don't think anyway. After the Olympic Games, like this is a good opportunity for her to blast a few races out,
yeah.
see her full potential.
It
So
is, yeah. Be kind of an interesting watch, but um yeah, nothing crazy, particularly about Keely in there, but obviously, yeah, like after what she's done, I think been very would have been very surprised to see her on a start line, you know, after the highs of that gold.
defo, defo. Look, she's getting prep. By the way, on Keely, she's getting some crazy press, man. Like newspapers, like I saw the other day. I can't remember what newspaper it was, but they've been taking pictures of her on holiday, out on runs, and the title is like, Olympic champ training whilst on holiday. The work never stops. It's like, what do these people expect? Do they know she's lined up? She's gonna be attacking the world record in a few weeks' time.
Hmm.
But yeah, and I think she, definitely for a little while, she's gonna have to cope with the paparazzi like popping up in weird areas because like these she definitely looked like she was running in a bit of a remote location by these photos, and clearly paparazzi are out there and hiding in bushes trying to capture some photos of her. So yeah, she's gonna have to really cope with the spotlight, and and I think she was always a big name in the sport, But now, we talk about those viewing figures, bro. 9.1 million people tuned in to watch her, the most watched session of the Olympic Games. Um, you just think, Jesus, like she's now not just big in the sport, there's over 10 million Brits plus everyone who didn't watch it who now knows who she is, who really know who Keely is. And I think she is, yeah, she's a household name. She's going to be the like equivalent of what Mo Farah was, for kind of his years in his prime. And I think it's going to be because obviously she does base herself in the UK quite a lot, so it's going to be interesting, how she kind of handles the press and everything especially over the next kind of 6 months, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're bang on, mate. And I think that's what the Olympics does, doesn't it? It does create household names, not just stars of the sport, like we get from the world champs or any other like good performances. The Olympics really kind of taps into to the nation as a whole and the general public. So look, I think kind of all power to her, like I'm sure she'll capitalize on all of that stuff, and hopefully she can kind of use that to her benefit in terms of I guess like financially and like training and racing and stuff going forward. As it all goes back into that, doesn't it?
Yeah, mate, 100% agree. And I think as well, just the fact that I think unlike Farah as well, this might be being a bit harsh to Farah, but obviously I think she does connect on, obviously her training group, Trevor and Jenny coach a lot of other athletes as well. So she must connect to a lot of people. So I think her impact of what she's done is definitely quite relatable to a lot of athletes. And I think it's easier to relate to someone like Keely than someone who kind of bases themselves in America, has an exclusive coach like Farhad Salazar and kind of always away and do you know what I mean? I think, as an up and coming distance runner, it's like, how do I kind of get there? Whereas you look at Keely, you're like, wow, like, she's in Manchester a lot of the yes, she obviously she goes to South Africa, but I think it's a great inspiration for kind of all the kids out there. And not even kids, inspiration for bloody people like her own training group, like Georgia Bell, and obviously Georgia Bell's providing inspiration to others as well. So yeah, but it is cool. I think obviously the mainstream press will now start to take a lot more of an interest in track and field, and I think that's huge for the sport. So yeah, where were we? We're still kind of previewing the Lausanne Diamond League. I mean the women's 3K, Melissa Conley Bryant's in it, so it'd be good to see her like have a crack. She actually, has quietly been steadily improving throughout the year. I think when the Olympics is on, she ran like a 4 flat or 401 1500. So she's kind of getting back to her best, and definitely someone who like, maybe can she sneak into the team, compete with Rebe for that third spot next year. You think Georgia Bell and Muir's spots are pretty much banged for the next few years, but yeah, then just a bunch of pretty fast Ethiopians in that field as well. But and
Yeah.
then finally, man, I mean, men's 800, which is a non-Diamond League event, but you've got we got four returners from five returners from that Olympic final. Hoppel, Atui, Arop, Tual, Wanyonyi. God, is this going to be a world record attempt again? I think these eight guys are just going to attack the world record every race now for the rest of the year. And look, if they blow up, they blow up.
Yeah. Yeah, mate, and who I'm looking forward to seeing as well is obviously Neil Gawley's in there, and just interested to see how he gets on because I think maybe he wouldn't be because he's a competitive guy, but I think he should be pretty happy with his season, um, like the way that final was, and he'd have been further down than he wanted to be, but right, he still ran a pretty quick time in that final. Got in amongst it, got himself through the rounds, and the more Neil Gawley does that consistently, it will be his turn to kind of get close to that top spot, I'm sure, one day.
Yeah, and I think, I think he even came out and said himself, this winter was not ideal for him. He spent a lot of time cross training and stuff. And I think if he can just get a good winter in him, um, then he'll, that kind of 330 he got to, could that might be 328, that might be 230 just with that added strength. And like, I'm sure cross training's amazing. And it clearly, all that bike work and stuff he did really worked for him. But, you know, he probably just lacked a little bit of that strength just to kind of carry him on. And also not just strength, but that speed work, which he just wasn't able to do through the winter. And it's definitely kind of transitioning from spring into summer. He wasn't able to do much speed work at all. So yeah, I think if he can get those 12 months in him, he will be a force we reckon with next year. So yeah, it will be cool to see him do an 800. So yeah, there's a Lausanne Diamond League. Actually, pretty stellar lineups. And like you said, Lum, it will just get the ball rolling post Olympics and get us back into the swing of kind of watching athletics and flipping Premier League started this weekend. Crazy. It took me by surprise. I was still
That's the
in like
problem,
the
mate. That's
it's
why I'm
so
looking at the Lausanne Diamond League and I'm like, ah.
yeah, it's actually crazy. But yeah, man. Obviously another race coming up, Podium Home Nations, down in Cardiff. Always a kind of really good atmosphere race, always good fun. Cardiff nightlife always delivers as well. And I think actually this year it's always I think what we love about it is it's always a really, really kind of strong domestic field and you get 10, same on the women's side as well, about 10, 15 runners who are all very similar. And so the race usually plays out. Everyone kind of has their turn at the front and kind of pushes on at certain points. And you don't really need like a fast person to really drag things along because there's so many of them and it's a road race. They all just take their turn and get
Yeah.
things moving. And especially, through that first lap and then the laps after, maybe get a little bit tactical, but they're always running fast enough. So there's some good prize money on the line as well. So good team event.
Yeah, for me, what I love about this event, obviously the course as well, Butte Park in Cardiff. Like for those of you not running there or racing there, like great kind of great loop, for the race, and I think also for anyone that kind of has lived or trained in Cardiff, like just it's a kind of a staple training location. So I think it's cool, especially for kind of athletes who have done that to be able to race around there. But mate, I just love seeing the kind of international scalps that get taken, because we have teams from England, Scotland, Wales, um,
Northern Ireland.
yeah,
Yeah.
Northern Ireland, and you often see people who've been selected for their nations that they'll get taken out by someone who's running for Oxford University, for example. Your boys going as well with their own team. So it's nice to see that, and I think it's just it's good to see kind of I guess domestic vests battling with international vests, and seeing who people I guess some people pick to run for their club over their nation, or maybe some people don't get a selection call up. So it's
Mm.
yeah, it was a good watch in that sense as well.
Yeah, I guess one of the looking ahead at one of the favourites would be Oshan Perrin. Going to be running for Wales. He's had a pretty stellar track season, and it's park he knows well as well. So he'll be lining up, talking to those international scouts. But yeah, mate, some big names. Won't have it all his own way. Jack Goodwin's doing it. He's obviously running dirty odds this year. Usual suspects: Escalante Phillips, McMillan. Few surprise names for Oxford Uni. Watch out for them. I'm going to keep it low profile and not mention them. Hopefully they just, take a few scalps, scare a few people on the start line. But yeah, and in women's side as well, you've got Abby Donnelly. She'll be doing it. Georgie Grech, Eddie Wallace, Lauren Church is doing it. Strong Jenny Nesbitt, Kidja. Good, some very good teams lined up. So yeah, and I think podium by the way, they've got some underground is coming the week after, and then the week after that is Battersea Park. I think underground's 2 weeks after actually, and then there's Friday night under lights in Battersea Park as well. So and that same weekend by the way, National Cross. Don't know about you, mate, but I've heard a few things about National Cross. I don't know what the entries were like. Haven't heard many kind of people committing to it and wanting to run. I think entries are heavily down as you'd kind of expect.
Mm.
So I will be intrigued to see how this National Cross plays out. Obviously, the postponed event from February.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we were expecting the same sort of numbers we get in February. Obviously, that senior men's race, like into the thousands. But d- I guess like if we ignore the kind of the fact that it got postponed for right, like let's not talk about whether it should or shouldn't or that sort of thing. But if it does get postponed, what other option do you have other than putting it on another day like this September? Like,
Yeah.
can you just miss the National Cross for a year? I think it's best not to,
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely
best
getting
that we
towards
do
it.
have a 2024 Nationals winner across all those age groups, just kind of for the history books, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think I don't know why I've been told entries are down, but I can't see anything on the website myself. So it's by a team manager who's been entering people. But like I yeah, I don't know why you have to re-enter for this one. Like, why don't you? What I think surely your entry just carries over from February. Everyone who was entered in February is entered for this one.
Mm.
But yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. It's good they've got it, and in a way, it's going to kickstart the cross season with a bit of a bang. And so we'll see how it rolls.
Well, yeah, people will be going into their first league matches as national
As national
champs.
champs, yeah. It's going to be fascinating. So, and then, okay, let's get into the Sam Reardon episode. But I think it would just be cool to maybe summarize that. I'm sure a lot of listeners have already seen these stats from Chorus, Jakob in the 5,000. I remember a couple of years ago they did something quite cool at the US Champs. I think they got people like Grant Fisher, and I think they did it in the men's 15 as well. Like got Goose to potentially wear a Coros heart rate monitor, the ones on the arm.
Mm.
It might not be Goose, but there's a few athletes, and actually as the race was running, they had the heart rate in like the bottom right of like the athletes, and it'd be like Ngus's heart rate, let's just say Kahoka's heart rate, and it was quite cool to see that feature when they were racing. And you could see it like kind of when they surged, it would
Mm.
go up and there'd be delays and stuff. But so I think it's really cool what Chorus are doing. They're getting their athletes, and maybe it's just a bit nerdy and a bit irrelevant. But they're getting Jakob to wear that watch. But it must be off the wrist strap. I didn't see Jakob wearing a heart rate monitor in that race. So how accurate is this data? Hey, I mean.
Yeah, well,
What staggered me is his average heart rate was like what I think his average heart rate was 173 maybe or 176 or something. I was like, if I could, that sounds quite low to me.
still relative though, mate. I think this is the thing. Like we don't know.
Oh no, heart rate is really individual. Yeah, no, I know
Yeah,
that, but I was like, I only got it up to I think it maxed out about 183 maybe or something like that. I was like, that's probably his
that's
problem,
his
mate.
problem. Yeah,
Trying to get his heart rate out, bro. But then again, he absolutely creamed the five. So what are we on about? He's got no problem in the 5K. This is the
uh,
1500. He's got the problems. But
true.
yeah, I guess a cool feature nonetheless from
Yeah, and
Chorus.
there's us, mate, clipping park runs at 201. So
Yeah, mate, I can hold 190 for about 20 minutes. That's
yeah,
where we're going wrong. Um, right,
absolutely.
let's get into the Reardon episode, mate. I mean, just a couple of things worth saying before. Yeah, I think we didn't talk about it so much on the episode, but his coaching setup and he chose to not go to university, and one of the big reasons for that was he was obviously starting to have a lot of success with his coach Nigel Stickins, and he came out and said to us, didn't he, after the episode, he said, you know, no one really understands the 4-8, let alone kind of understands him to be able to coach the 4-8. And I think, he was going to go to Loughborough and he would have had to do some training with the 400 runners, some with the 800 runners, and it would have just been messy and not really worked. And he said, he trains quite specifically for that 4-8. And yeah, he gets into a lot about his training. But he said, yeah, that was one of the reasons he was like, I'm just going to have this set up here. And he actually prioritized where he is in his running career over kind of any form of kind of education or something like
Mm.
that. And I respected that move because very easy to kind of make that decision and go to Loughborough and do you know what I mean? And probably live quite a comfortable life for 3 or 4 years and yeah, just kind of hop around from training groups. But he clearly recognizes that he's got something very good in Stickins who's working with him. And I agree, that is a difficult double or to train for.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's just a really mature response, which is kind of reflective of the whole kind of chat we had with him, like for a young athlete, the way he's kind of speaking about his progression, about his performances. I just thought he was super mature, and I think like you say, mate, it's so easy for athletes to just think, oh, it's time to go to uni. Where are the best athletes at the moment? Like, where are they all at uni? Oh, I'll just go there, because that's what's gonna make me kick on, because not many people at I don't know, 17, 18, are looking at their own training setup and thinking, oh, this is why I'm good in this way. Uh,
Mm,
a lot of people don't do that at 28, they've just kind of, I
mm.
guess, got some people get lucky, don't they? That they kind of fall into the right group at the right time, rather than kind of plotting their career path in relation to
Yeah,
where they think will be that move.
without a doubt. Yeah, and what's scary is he's still only 20 years old. So he's very young in the grand scheme of things. So yeah. So enjoy the episode. I know it's gravitating more towards the well, certainly middle distance and even kind of, the long sprints. So
I mean, is this our first sprinter on the pod?
if you want to call him that, he's an 800 runner in our eyes. And yeah, it's funny. He even said, the reason he runs well over 400 is his 800 training. So um, we're going to call him an 800 runner for the sake of the diehards and the endurance fanatics who listen to our podcast.
Yeah, he still does Sunday plods, so it's all good. It's
He
all good.
does. He does.
But yeah, guys, enjoy this episode, and we'll catch you very soon.
Okay, Sam, firstly, just welcome to the podcast and congratulations, mate. You're an Olympian.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a bit crazy. Crazy 2 weeks, crazy 3 weeks actually. But yeah, Olympian, double Olympic medalist. Yeah, cool.
I was going to say, Lum's downplaying that, calling you an Olympian. I was like, he's a two-time Olympic medalist, and I think I read this morning you're the fifth Briton in history to have two Olympic medals at the same games, and we were trying to rack our brains and fact check it. Have you fact checked it? Because I was thinking Seb Coe and obviously Hudson Smith, but Kenny
Yeah,
Holmes, too
I
many.
think it's since 2000, since the turn of
Oh,
2000.
okay.
Yeah, but then also there's been, well, I think five of us added to that this Olympic. So yeah, so one of 10 now, I think. But yeah, it's cool. Still cool stat. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just chatting before we start recording about how we actually look. We reached out to you or your agent before you kind of got the call up to the Olympics. So can we just chat about I guess the getting that late call up and how late was it knowing you were going to Paris?
Yeah. So we're meant to be doing this beforehand, but couldn't be there because I was in Paris. But yeah, I got the call on the Saturday morning, so the day after the opening ceremony. So I was watching the opening ceremony from my house, and then got the call at training at like 11, saying someone's pulled out. So can you make it to the Olympics or next week and run a 4x4 for us? I was like, yes, I can. So yeah, it's been a bit crazy, really. I think I was got the call, and then 2 days later I was in Paris in the holding camp, and then a day later after that I was in the village, and then like 3 days later I was racing. So it's been a bit West Stop tour, but yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, were you able to go into the games a little bit more relaxed because of the way you got that late call up? Do you think had you known you were going for the 4 or 5 weeks prior, once that team was announced, do you think things would have ended differently
I
or
think it
not?
was I think it was less. I think it's more stressful, as I say, because I didn't have any time to like take in what actually had just happened. Because
Mm,
I think everyone else, they had their 2 weeks before they even went out, where they knew they were going to the Olympics, so they could celebrate and then like get their emotions back down into check. I think with me, I didn't have any like the kitting out there like that. I was kind of got the call, wasn't allowed to tell anyone because it was a like sensitive situation. So I had so much pent up energy about it all, just thinking, oh, I'm going to the Olympics when no one knows. I'm going to the Olympics. And that was 2 days. I was even on the flight over there. It still hadn't been announced. There's only when I landed in Paris it got announced that I was going to the Olympics. So I feel like I had 2 days of just kind of sitting on it, being excited, also being like kind of scared about it and going straight into the deep end. I didn't know what I had to
mm,
bring out because I had no kit with me. I had like 6 bags coming back now because I had to bring 2 bags out myself. So it was all a bit chaotic. I didn't really know what was going on. I wasn't in got any of the information. So I kept learning stuff out there that I was allowed to do or wasn't allowed to do. I was kind of like learning on the job sort of thing. So it was kind of stressful, but it was cool. Like yeah, I have a unique experience of getting to the Olympic Games, so
mm.
that's quite cool.
Yeah, in terms of all that kind of stuff, like you mentioned, kind of things you're allowed to do, things you're not. How different was it? Because obviously you've been to like European under 23s or World Juniors. How much of a kind of shift was it from some of those kind of junior championships?
Yeah, it's massive. I think that it's a huge jump up. It's a lot more professional, a lot more. Like even after the medal ceremony of the men's, we had media the next day from 7 a.m. to like 12 or 1 p.m. something like that. So it was full on. It was felt like I guess it was Olympic Games, so it was big. A lot of big athletes around in the village. It was cool being at that experience of like staying with everyone else in other sports. Um,
Mm.
so that was cool. Yeah, so it was really different. It was really just another jump up, and I'm like, yeah, 5 jumps up, something like that. But it was cool, man. Yeah.
Do you know what I want to talk about? You're probably one of the few athletes who was in the village like that whole kind of 2 week period because I mean, I think we saw Keely kind of flew out a couple of days after and like got out of Paris, left the village and quite a lot of athletes did come and go. Do you know their reasons for that? Why they didn't want to soak it up, but also how did you cope in the village, that long? Because it doesn't seem like a conducive place. To kind of perform at your higher level. There was illness going around and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, so this Olympics is a bit different. In previous Olympics, after you competed, you're allowed to stay to like the closing ceremony in the village. But this Olympics, they've said after your event, you have 2 days before you get kicked out. So
Right.
unless you have a coach there who's like on their job as part of the team or whatever, you could stay longer because obviously you're going to train with them and stuff like that. So a few people like Gemma Reekie stayed till the end after she competed, but other people uh, had to leave, and then some came back for the closing ceremony for the last day. But yeah, we got to stay obviously because we were racing at the start of the athletics calendar and at the end. So we were there the whole time, and it was like a week period in between. So yeah, it was cool. I think Matt Hudson Smith was out there. He didn't go to the holding camp. He said he regretted it because he was out there for like 3 weeks, and like the food was bad in the village, and he was like, oh, "I should go to the holding camp." But yeah, the holding camp was good. That was like just GB out there and the athletics lot, so we had our own track. And that was nice, and then going to the village, yeah, it was cool. Yeah, like you said, it wasn't really they Team GB provided a lot for us to try and keep our like stuff down. We had like a lounge area where we had PlayStation. We played a lot of FIFA in that week that we were off. We had like a little FIFA tournament going around. I think my highlight was I was beating Matt Hudson Smith 5-1 and then bowled it and he won 6-5. But yeah, so it was a lot of chill stuff going on, and then yeah, just trying to stay relaxed, trying to stay off our feet and stuff like that. And then yeah, like I said, there was a lot of illness going around. We had a lot of what's it called, medical information about how to stay healthy. A lot of like hand sanitizer bits around, face masks, stuff like that, just to try not to catch anything. Because yeah, as we know, apparently COVID was going around in some of the other camps.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of the relays, then, like obviously quite different to some of the other events. How early do you know which rounds you're running in? Like, did you know you're doing the mixed and the men's and things like that? How late kind of did you get some of that information? Because I obviously guess it would depend on how the guys doing their individual events too.
Yeah, yeah. So with the relays, it was different this time around as well. We got the heat sheets a lot earlier than they did before they got sent out to like, the public. So we knew who was in our heats way before, like 3 days before the mix. We even knew the men's heats at that sort of time. But we got picked like for the mix. We got picked the day before, so we knew 24 hours in advance who was running what leg and in the round and who was the first reserve. So if anyone got injured, they'd come in. And then obviously they don't announce that till like an hour before the race because in case someone gets injured, so they can just swap them in and out. But yeah, so we have like 24 hours to prepare, and then after the mixed heats, it was sort of okay. We knew who was coming in for the final because you only make one change in the mixed heats from the mixed heats for that team. So we knew Amber was coming in for Nicole before we ran the heat, so that was sort of like kind of dusted. And then the men's was a bit different because yeah, Matt and Charlie were running in the individual. Matt made the final, and Charlie didn't make the final. So we knew Charlie was going to be running the heats, and then it was a bit surprised that Matt ran the heats with us as well. But it's because we had such a tough heat. We had, I think, 4 of the top 5 countries at 4x4 in our heat. So we needed to make sure we got through. So Matt put in a shift. I mean, I think he had like an hour's sleep after his men's final, and then between the men's 4x4 heat. So he was dead. I think you can see in the pictures afterwards. He's given it his all that whole Olympics. But yeah, that man's crazy.
I think this is something is when we're at home, when we see these crazy turnarounds, athletes, the night before having huge success. I think it's very easy for us to forget the fact that, yeah, chances are they've had great success, but they haven't just gone to bed after that performance. They've had to do so much, and obviously they're on an emotional absolute high, like probably can't sleep either. So yeah, and seeing them turn out is just crazy. Mate, I want to rewind a little bit to earlier on in the season because after British champs, I mean, you failed to make the 400 fund there. You must have been pretty down, and then you turned your season around and chopped over a second off your PB and at that London Diamond League or there or thereabouts. Like, just talk us through that kind of period in your
Yeah,
riding career.
yeah, coming out of Manchester trials, obviously very disappointed, especially seeing as I qualified at the 8th quickest time in the heats, but because of an automatic qualifier who was a bit slower, he got put in obviously in the final over me, so that was frustrating, and I was obviously disappointed. But we knew London was on the cards, so it was like, okay, yeah, I knew I was only just starting to get back into form. I think I raced once before that, the week before, and just outside my PB, so I'd only started running properly, yeah, for about 3 weeks before trials, and wasn't really race fit, and I wasn't really. I know I get better around, so I hadn't really had enough race underneath my like legs to know to perform in the heats when I needed to. So I was really disappointed, but yeah, like I said, we saw it as okay, the season just started again, so let's just build on from this, and then had about 3 or 4 races in between trials in London. So it was quite a jam-packed period of racing across Europe. Yeah, I went sub 46 for the first time in Dublin, which was I think a week before London, and then went to London and got the lane there. I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to like prove to myself that I could have been on that relay team. I know now that I've had a few good races underneath my legs, which I was running good form, running FPB. So I was like, okay, this is the moment. If I'm going to run quick here, this is the place to do it. The London's just so quick, and the stadium is like a bowl, so there's no wind or anything in there. And the atmosphere's crazy. So got in there, and I knew there was 3 Olympians who were in that relay team racing. So I was like, okay, beat them, and I can say to myself, I should have been there, but I wasn't fair enough. And then, yeah, knew I was running quick because I was like Toby on the inside of me and Bailey on the outside of me, a good 200 runners, and I was with them for 200. That's normally the weakest part of my 400 races, the first two. I think we looked at the splits, I think I ran a 150, 200, 250, and 300 PB in that race. And then got through 300 and was like, just behind Alex, who was in the lead, and I was like, okay, I said we're good here. Just like, should go to the arms, and then just kicked home. I didn't realize the gap that I created in the last 50 meters, and then dipped at the line. I thought, okay, maybe like a 45, like 4, that'd be nice, that would be cool. And then I saw the time, like, oh, yeah, and I was like, I swore on TV, and my family were like, did you swear on TV? I was like, yeah, I didn't mean to, it just kind of slipped out. But yeah, it was crazy. I think that was a moment like my life sort of changed, was that race. And then we were speaking to selectors afterwards, and they were saying, yeah, I know, really good run, but there's nothing we can do for Olympics wise. Like, the team's been picked, the reserves have been named. There's unfortunately just nothing we can do. So I kind of accepted that I wasn't going to the Olympics, and I was happy enough with that. If that was my season, 44/7, that would have been individual Olympics at standard. So I was super happy. I was like, okay, I'll take that. 44/7 is crazy. Olympics, yeah, I would have loved to have been there, but I wasn't fair enough. That's unfortunate, but I'll take the 44/7. And then got the call a week later you're going to the Olympics. So that was, yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. I still can't really believe it. I was thinking like, oh, it was only really like 3 weeks ago London was, and that feels like a lifetime ago now, that race. So it's been quick that my season's gone from not having one to coming away with 2 Olympic medals. I think someone tweeted out the other day saying, oh, Sam Reardon 3 weeks ago wasn't even in the top 10 400 meters, and now he's a double Olympic bronze medalist. Like, what are 3 weeks that's had? So yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It has, and we've enjoyed kind of watching that as well. But look, one thing, of course, we want to chat about is why the 400 meters this year, because historically you've run the 4 and the 8. You're a 145 guy. You've kind of performed at junior championship. Sorry, as I mentioned earlier, kind of second at Euro under 23s. fifth at World Juniors in the eight. Why was it the 400 this year?
Yeah, I think it was a decision we made a long time ago. Throughout winter, before winter started as well, winter training. We knew, especially after the last year in 800, fifth year Euro 23s, and the times British guys were running. I ran 145.95, but I was ranked like 13th in the country, and which is crazy at this like that sort of level. That's never really been happened before. Where if you run 145, you're normally like top 4 or 5 in the country. But and the middle distance running as a whole in Britain at the moment is reaching new levels. So we knew it was going to be tough to make the Olympic team. We knew we had to cut up another second and a bit to get the individual standard in the eight, and then go to trials and beat 10, 15 guys who could make that team. So we looked at our options, and I'm going to this Olympic year as a 20-year-old, not really having to prove. I'm not really. It's a free hit. I'll try and make this Olympic team. It was before, and the best chance was in the relay. There's no standard for the relay. You just got to be in like the top 6 and be picked, sort of. It's how it works. So we knew. I never dreamt of running sub 45 or 400. I never thought that was going to happen. So never really thought. Wasn't really trying to go for an individual spot. I was just trying to go for the relay, try and enjoy it. Even my coach said before, take this opportunity to run. I was disappointed I didn't get to run in the final because my hip was hurting. But before this, you would have taken going to the Olympics and not run at all just to be there. And now you've run three runs and disappointed and you're not getting a fourth. So you got to look at it in hindsight. But yeah, we decided 400 at the start of the year. So my whole winter was 400 base training. Well, I say 400 base training, like 400 base training from an 800 meter runner's background sort of thing. Like I was still doing not long runs for middle distance guys, but long runs for 400 guy. Yeah, a lot more mileage than most 400 guys doing, but obviously more speed based stuff in the actual track sessions rather than endurance or stuff like that. So that I would be doing when I'm doing energy training. So we worked a lot of my speed, like my flat speed got a lot quicker, 200 times. I was running crazy quick. And that's what I think led to my injury in January, was that I was running so quick so early on in the year because I was trying to do indoors and my body just wasn't used to running those sort of times, especially in like December when it's cold and your muscles aren't really firing properly. When you're running, your body's in that sort of shape. It finds the weaknesses that you have in your body, and I think that's what led to my injury in January. So yeah, we when I got injured, we fought back and forth. Okay, do we swap back to 8s now because it's less force going through the hamstring, stuff like that? And then we decided, just get back, get the hamstring strong enough, and then go for the 4s again. Because, like we said, trying to run 800 at that point without any proper 800 meter training in winter was going to be tough. Like, we're not delusional, and we know we worked hard for that 145.95. We're not going into another year trying to run 144.7 without any basis of what we did in winter. So we said, okay, there's no point doing that. I think I had a few 800s lined up to start of the year, but I just wasn't fit enough to go for it. I was like, okay, we wanted to see what I could run off 400 meter training just to learn some stuff. I ran it a bit differently. Because normally in 800s I like to just hit like second, sit there, I think like most people do, and then try and kick past at the end. But with the 400 training, we were like looking to do some 8s where sitting at the back and then trying to come through strong sort of thing. But yeah, never got around to do that. So yeah, 400 was the way. The training just went that way. Yeah, it worked out, I guess. So
yeah, man, boy, did it. It's a cool dynamic, the fact that with the relay, it was a little bit more realistic. And I guess, through the winter you had that to work towards, just getting inside that top 6, sort of thing. You mentioned a little bit about your training. I'm fascinated, I'm fascinated to hear the difference between that winter, like you said, when you ran 145.9 to, this winter, obviously, despite the injury, to when you're running 44.7. And what do you think you could do for an 800 now?
I think it's so hard to speak. I don't know. We were talking about this the other day with the 4 boys, and they asked me what I could run for 8 now. I was like, I don't know. I think I'd run sub 146, I reckon. Yeah, I believe that. I don't know what I'd run. So yeah, I don't know. But I said I want to run a 6. I think me and Ben Patterson and Matt Hudson Smith are talking about trying to get a 6 on London next year. I think that'll be my best event. I know Ben thinks he's got in the bag. He wants to go for the world record. So, what a race that'd be. Me, Ben Patterson, Matt Smith, all going for a thing. I think Matt said he's going to go through in 45 and just try to kill us, try to take one of us out with him. So, yeah, that would be a race that I really want to do. So I think, 600 is the perfect. My training suits a 600-meter race like perfectly. I mean, even out in the village, I had a session where it was like just a 5K run after the mix, just to like shake out stuff. And I was like to the four boys, "Oh, any of you want to come on a 5K run with me, just to little shake out?" And like, nah, not a chance, not a chance. I think the most they do is like 10 minutes, and it's so funny because even like on the warm ups, when we're warming up for the relay, we would do like our warm up jogs, and they all stop after one lap. I was just still going around, and I was like, "Oh, the difference in these, how they train and how I do." It's so funny, yeah.
No,
I'm glad you haven't been fully inducted into their ways. I can imagine it being pressure on the camp to just be like, "Oh yeah, I'll just do a lap two," and then you become a complete fall guy, you know.
No. I think that's the key. That's what we like highlighted is that changes to the four this year doesn't mean just training like how forerunners train. We have my unique ability in the four is that my intermediate strength comes in handy when it comes like last 100 to 150, and we need to keep that in because that's what I do best. And it's not always about just working your weakness and getting out your strength. It's strengthening your strength whilst also trying to strengthen your weakness at your weakened areas. So we kept in a lot. Like we didn't do as much mileage over winter and stuff like that, but compared to a 4-2 guy or just a 4 guy, I was still doing a whole lot more than they would be doing. My sessions still had 800 meter like backing behind it. So like we do stuff like pre-session sessions, it was like we call it, where I do like 3 6s before my actual track session that I do for 400 just to get some like aerobic work in, sort of be like they're around like 140 130 pace for 600, like 3 of them off 2 minutes, and then the other 4 guys in my group do like 300. So I still working on a level just above the 4 guys, like distance wise, but coming at it from a more speed based stuff, so less endurance work but more speed stuff. Yeah.
No, it's interesting, man. And then just to kind of finish up on the training, what sort of mileage would you get done? 30 miles a week, 20 miles a week?
I think in winter it's close to like 30 miles a week, and then during summer it drops way down to like 10, 15 miles a week. But,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So in the 800, when I'm doing 800, it's more than that.
But what do you think you'll do next year now? Have you already started to kind of brainstorm and have those discussions? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, we have, because originally the plan was to go back to 8s next year. So this was year to do 4s, and then because with the 8, it's easier to do 8 to run a 4 800 training than it is to run an 8 or 400 training. So that's why, like last year, I was focused on 800 because I wanted to do Euros and 20 weeks for 800, but I still run 4s pretty well. This year, we realized I think I did 800 before I got called up for the Olympics. We were going to do an 8, so we'd start doing 800 meter sessions, and they were so hard. I couldn't believe how hard they'd been after training for 4 so long. So so the original plan was to do 800 next year, but with the world times just come out, the 8 got a bit quicker. There's the standard for that, and the 4. I had the 4 like time, but just not in the right period. So we might just go for the 4 because I have a chance at individual. I've run the qualifying time underneath the qualifying time already. Just need to do it, obviously, since 1st of August now. So it's probably more likely I'm going to be doing the 4 now, which is all right. Like I think I prefer the 800 because I like the tactical side of it. That's why I like doing the relays as well. Like the Olympics was the first time I run first leg relay, because normally I'm quite handy on like a rolling leg where I can use my 800 meter tactics and knowledge to against the 400 guys, which don't really have that because they're not used to running lanes. So this year was a bit different, obviously. So I ran leg 1, which was cool, but what a time to try and do leg 1 for your first time at the Olympic Games. But yeah, so normally I prefer the 800 because that's the way I like it. I like 4s indoors because it's like an 800 sort of in that sort of same sort of way where you break. But it's looking more likely we're leaning towards more doing the 4 next year again. just to build on from this year because it's been
It
so
seems
successful. Yeah.
it seems like you're motivated by you want to be at a championship. You want to be wearing the British vest. Is that fair to say? And like whether it be, in the 400 or the 800, you're not too fast. You just want to be there in whatever event you're best at.
Yeah, I know a lot of people look at it in different ways. I think that's my main thing. I want to be at every championship I can be at, um, and win medals at every championship I can.
Mm.
That's why I do indoors. I know a lot of the four guys don't do indoors. A lot of people don't. So next year I'm looking to try and get European indoors, world indoors, Euro under 23s, and world outdoors. They're the four champs. I want to make all four of them because I do this sport to try and make those championships. I know a lot of people want to be making the championships who would dream of being in my position of having like running these times. And I've dreamt about being in these positions before I was running these times, and now why would I not take that opportunity when I can? I want to be in
Mm.
that circuit on these like global stages and European stages and trying to win medals. And I think that's what it's all about when you look at your career and you look at what medals you've won and stuff like that. You go, oh look, I've done all these different events. I think someone like I look up to like Femke Bowl because she runs the mixed relay even when
Mm.
before like her individual. And I think I'd do the same. Even an individual, I'd want to do the mixed relay because it's another chance at a medal. Like why would you turn away the chance of winning an Olympic medal or a world champion medal or something like that? And I think that like I understand some of the four guys and two guys who don't have that basis of running, like longer stuff, but I think I get better rounds. So yeah, I'd be happy doing the mix at the start of
Mm.
the comp and then still do my individual. I feel like that would help me doing the mix because
Mm.
I've had a run in the legs. I can go to my individual, knowing what the track feels like, what the atmosphere's like, everything like that. And then I feel like it just helps me in my own individual race. So I'll be more happy to like jump in mixed relay, men's relay, and the individual at these champs to come, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool attitude.
Obviously, like throughout your career, you've been a 4.8 guy. You're mentioning that next year you're probably going to focus on the four. Do you think it's possible at the top level? So not like World Juniors, like at a world class Olympic level. Do you think it's possible to still do both? For example, like could we? Do you reckon it's possible to, I guess, be in the 4x4 and in the 800 individual, for example?
I think that's what I've wanted to do is be a relay runner and an eight runner. I know Keely's trying to do that at the moment as well. That's her plan to transition to do some of the relays as well. That's why she did 400 at British Champs and trials, stuff like that. So I know a lot of eight guys who aren't necessarily 8:15 guys are looking to see if there's another way they can get into relay and do more speed stuff to try and do that. And I think that's something I would want to do. But you need to be trained for eight to be able to do that at the moment, just put on the more of the speed side. So hopefully in the future, I want to do that. I still want to do eights and fours going on because I think it's just more enjoyable for me that way. I don't like focusing on one event because if you're not doing well in that one event, it gets in your head sort of that. I think after Europeans last year, I'd done a lot of eights. I went from European under 23s, becoming fifth, and then I was a bit disappointed. I wanted to get a medal there. Then went to London for the National Diamond League race where everyone like 144 there and pretty much everyone got the Olympic standard. And I got pushed in that race and like with Yusuf Bismana and like my race was over 200 meters into the race. And that was just disappointment. And then I had racing Tooting like 3 days after that. Won that race, but it was pouring out of rain, and I didn't really run a good time. So I was like, oh, these 800s are just getting blow after blow. And that's when I was in a position where, okay, now the rest of the season I'm just focusing on fours and trying to run good times in the four. And that was just fun then. Like I was just doing fun races. I was enjoying racing again. And that's what I think is such a benefit about doing two events is that when one's going to plan, because you're never going to have a season where every single race is perfect. Every single race is going to be going your way, the way you want it to be going. I could just switch and start enjoying the fours because I knew. Oh, sorry, one second. Oh God, sorry.
Cut that, mate.
Yeah. So yeah, I can go to switch to fours and just have no pressure on it because I wasn't training for fours that year, and I just started running them and got better and better, run PBs, and that's what we're in this for, to just run the best you can. So yeah, that's why I enjoyed it. It's covered again. Oh God, sorry. And then yeah,
No, mate, that's a super refreshing approach actually. It's not one that we hear that often when it comes to guests that we speak to. 'Cause it's just very specialized at the highest level, isn't it?
Yeah.
But mate, what about any more races lined up this season? We know there's still what 5 Diamond Leagues remaining. I'm sure there's a few World Tours up. What do you do now? Like, where do you go from here? Continue to build on that? I mean, I guess the World Champs window is officially open as well.
Yeah, so that's it exactly. Especially this time of the year, a lot of the big guys, the main hitters in these races don't do them because they've shut down their season because they like the Olympic medalists, they don't want to carry on, they want to go on holiday and stuff like that. So it gives opportunity for the people trying to fight for those spots who probably wouldn't get in before the Olympics a chance to get in. So yeah, we're looking at, I think I'm on the waiting list for Lausanne Diamond League, stuff like that. So we've got a few more races lined up. If my hip's okay after the men's relay, it got a bit, I had like bursitis in my hip. So that calms down, I'm ready to run again. We got a few more races lined up in Europe just to build on the season. I think it's a good opportunity to earn some money as well. So that's also a big part, a big factor of carrying on my season, getting to these big races where there's a bit of prize money in line. So experience that, enjoy that racing, and then like you said, the World Champs window is open now. So if I can go sub 44.85 again, then I have the standard for next year, which is just takes the pressure off completely for next year. Really, I can just build into it. I think in the past previous years, I've really got a habit of getting the standards late, which is not a good way to be running a season, not a nice way to be running a season. I'll tell you that much. I think European under 23s, I got even one under 20s, I got the standard like 2 days before the window closed. I think in Tunbridge, we set up the race. It was nice. Got 147 free when I needed 148. European 23s, I ran the standard. And I had one race to run the standard. It was in Europe. That was my only race I could really do it realistically, and I did it. And that was like a week before the trials. So, and then Olympics, I got called up after the open ceremony. So I'd hope next year I could do it earlier on, so I could have less stress. So if I could do it this year and then go into a whole winter of knowing I got the standard, that'd be ideal. So that's the aim. Hopefully, run a few good races, try to go sub 48, 44.85, and go from there next year.
Class, mate. Well, look, thanks for chatting to us today. And we're wishing you all the best with the rest of the season. Then obviously, hopefully we'll see you on an 800 start line in a couple of years' time.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Been good.